A Sweet Taste of Cake by The Descendant. Chapter 8. You Think You Know a Guy. Shafts of light broke through the large timbered house. As they did, the early morning sounds of Ponyville began to sound out along the road at the foot of the path. Cupcake's father was the first to awake, as he always been. Even the challenge of the presence of his grandchildren in the house had not wrested dominion from the small mornings within him.
Morning at Ponyville, Shivers!
Morning. Apologies. Light was becoming more evident every morning. As he breathed a morning invoke, he stood in that light and took a promise that Celestia was raising the sun earlier each day, that spring was indeed coming. As he put the kettle on, the light cascaded in through the skylight as he built all those decades ago. He gave a small curse when he saw the drops of water hanging in space where the brass met the ceiling. He would have to reseal it this year. That, however, was a summer job. As he waited for the water to boil, he stared out across his wide lawn to the road before. It was for the better that winter was ending soon, that he and his family would soon once more do their part in the annual winter wrap-up. How nice it will be to have children helping out this year. Though the circumstances of his eldest daughter's return were unhappy, he would have been a liar if he said he did not like having his grandchildren with him. Cupcake's father ran his hoof through his mane and gave a long sigh. As a few gray hairs came loose, he batted them through the air. Soon the water began to boil. As he grabbed the mugs out of the finely appointed cabinetry, he made her tea first, and then his own, as he always had. Cupcake's father felt his ears perk up. There was movement overhead, and with a gruff, the old stallion knew that his grandson and granddaughters were now rising. He wondered how long it would be before they too learned the importance of sleeping in on Saturdays. His name came echoing to him, and within seconds he was heading back up the stairs. He turned and looked first towards the rooms beyond, where the sound of the hooves of his grandchildren echoed in their bedrooms, the sounds of small games rising into the air. His name went to him again, this time from the opposite side of the hallway. There, a dear face met his, and he went up to her quietly.
You alright?
He asked as he placed her offered hoof in his, and letting her lean into him.
You want to head back to bed? Or do you want to come downstairs at all? I got your tea on.
Oh, she answered in a thin voice, walking out of the bathroom with weak steps. I think I'm alright to go downstairs today. I think I'll be better than yesterday. Yesterday had been horrible.
Do you want to share? Can you work it?
He said as he brushed back some of her mane as it fell across her face.
You want me to carry you down?
I should not have you carry me down those stairs, she scolded in a light tone. Oh, the fear that went through me the first time you did.
You know, I never drop you.
He spoke in a tone that almost seemed hurt.
You know that.
I know, she answered, rubbing his cheek tenderly. I know. With that, he led her down the stairs and placed her in the big soft chair before the fireplace. Seeing her safe, he went to retrieve her wheelchairs from the upstairs room. He used the lift to retrieve it. It was another addition to his house he had built himself, had relied on his own prowess to construct. As he returned, he suddenly felt himself assaulted, and looked down to see the smiling faces of the foals wrapped around three of his legs.
Brah!
He sounded out as he pretended to be a behemoth of old, stomping down the hallway as they clung to him, giggling as they went. His powerful legs lifted them. He only sussed them as they passed the room where their mother still slept. Upon reaching the top of the stairs, he saw another figure appear before him. As his family became awake, he smiled at another inhabitant of his home that he had made, of this house he had built.
Room for one more?
He spoke, offering Cupcake his last free hoof. Oh, Dottie, she said as she placed a morning kiss on him. With that, she leaned down to speak with her nieces and nephew as they left his legs to give her a morning hug. Why don't you grab some toys and sit and play with them in the fireplace? I'm sure Grandma would love to play with you. she asked as she looked at them. With small giggles, the colts and fillies ran down the hallway. Before long, they had gathered up some of their things and were coming down the stairs, their grandmother greeting them as they appeared. Cupcake's father rode the lift down with a wheelchair. He was not as young as he had once been. In truth, he appreciated being there as much as he had been happy that it gave her back some of her movement. He strode into the kitchen with the thought of beginning to make some breakfast for his family, but, to his happiness, he saw his youngest daughter had already begun the process. As Cupcake went to work, he marveled at how much better she had become at baking over the last few months. He wondered from where the practice flowed. Her new job, perhaps? Always full of surprises. That is what his little Cupcake was. Instead, he gave her a quick hug and abandoned the kitchen to her talents. He placed the mugs on the tray and walked them out into the living room, passing into the bright, airy space that he himself had built. His wife took the mug and smiled up to him, as he sat nearby with his own mug in his hose. As the Saturday morning of light of a late winter day fell across them, it mixed with the warmth of the fireplace, and he was happy. As though sensing his happiness, his grandchildren began to press toys into his hooves, begging him to become the fire engine, the delivery wagon, the postallion in his cart. As his wife smiled over him, he let his large frame become their mountain. The castles of Care-Lots suddenly were perched regally upon his head. That is how Cupcake found him as she came to tell him about breakfast being ready. As the grandchildren raced off to the kitchen, he lifted his wife gently into her wheelchair and rolled her down to fine lacquered floor that he himself had laid into the bright kitchen. As they sat around the breakfast table, he led them in a small invoke as his eldest daughter finally came down the stairs. As the entirety of his family sat around him, Cupcake's father was happy, and it showed upon his face. The morning slid on, and as noon began to creep around the house, he went outside, began to look the structure over from the outside, following the lines of his home. He noted where some of the cedar shingles were coming loose, where the paint looked to have chipped where the ice had grown against the side over the winter. More summer jobs. More small tasks accomplished to keep his home in the best possible shape. He had built this home. He had made this whole place a refuge from the world. It was a place where those he had loved would be safe, surrounded by love. That was what he had built. A castle of heavy timbers and soft earth tones. As he returned to the porch, he saw Cupcake there, getting ready once more to head off into the world, the Ponyville beyond.
You off to work?
He asked. She sobbed tightly as he walked around the spruce tree. Oh, yes, she answered, laughing at her own surprise. Yes, I'm off.
You have a good day, little Cupcake,
he said while accepting her hug. He stopped and looked down at her.
You know,
He said,
I'd love to meet your partner in this business of yours. What was it? Catering? Cooking? I bet she's a clever girl.
Yes, she said anxiously. Something like that. The food service. She pointed to a tray of cooking sitting on the steps that she had made the night before. I thought they'd gone dry, but they're still good. Try one, will you, Daddy? She said quickly. With that, she headed down the stairs, her hose making rapid sounds on the sidewalk. She stopped to wave back at her father at the gate. As it came open, he waved back to her. He did not blame her for not wanting to tell him until the time was right. He could sense that she was her own mare, that she was making her own decisions. She was decisive and clever. He knew she wanted to make her own name, did not want to rely on his business contracts, his reputation. He was proud of her, knew she could do well. She was his little filly, his little Cupcake. She had handled so much, had been his strength at times. As he watched her go, he could not help but feel there was more to it. That worried him, as he did not trust him with that much more information. To him, trust was everything. He wondered why she would not, but he quickly stopped himself. He knew what he had done. Trust? Trust matters. As he pondered the thought, a collection of one of the few groups of ponies he trusted came up to the street.
Howdy!
He called out, raising his hoof as a smile went across the faces of the family at the foot of his path. They stopped down upon the sidewalk, and as he gathered up the tray, the stallion trotted down to meet with him.
Good morning to you!
Answered Clyde as he took Cupcake's father's hoof in his own.
You're looking a little plump there, Clyde.
He answered with a wide grin.
Rocky's has been making you far too much good food over there. I suspect you'll all burn it off come spring on that farm of yours, so.
He bowed to the mare and looked at the 4 beautiful fillies that smiled up at him. We've been eating most fine, most blessed, but it is our Pekingese mark that's been putting the weight on us. Clyde spoke with a self-conscious laugh. Cupcake's father smiled down at the girls, especially at the one he remembered being called Pinkie Pie. The little filly was literally bouncing in its place as though she were a wellspring of energy that didn't know which way to go, as though she were attempting to be in all places at once. He looked up to this family. A good family, good ponies, honest folk. As he did, he remembered the tray he had brought with him.
Would you mind if I offer the girls a little cookie or two? My little cupcake made them yesterday.
He asked as he bowed his head to Roxy once more. Oh, not at all. Please feel free to. As the fillies reached for their treats, their mother scolded him in a light tone. Blinky, Blinky, Pinky, Maud, what do y'all say? The 4 fillies looked up to him with crumbs already on their faces and timed together a tune. Thank you, Mr. Quarry. Being Quarry means that you've been stolen from and hunted since you were 12 years old. That was the year that one of the wars stole your life out of your big brother. You never got to say goodbye. That was when you realized all the meanings of your name. Being Quarry means that you arrived in Ponyville with nothing, feeling like a hunted animal, pursued by everything that had taken everything from you. Being Quarry means that you had nothing until a colt your age took a risk on you, helped you find one little straw to land on, and then offered you more. As Lizard helped you gain your footing, he became more than a partner. He became a friend. Being Quarry means that you grew this one business, worked with the good, honest geoculturalists. They were a rugged and truthful group of ponies. They relied on you. You did not disappoint them. Soon you were back in good fortune. Your efforts earned you the respect of farmers, especially this one and his wife. Being Quarry means that you branched out and started other businesses. You fought hard to regain all that you had lost. Being Quarry means that the first time somebody tried your old tricks on you here in Ponyville, your old rage returned, your wrath, and it was only by some miracle that he survived and you did not go to jail. Being Quarry means that acts of spectacular violence are directed at those who would deceive you, against those who would hurt those you love. Being Quarry means that the only mayor you ever realized that you were hurt, that he had been a victim of so much, that all you ever really wanted was to be respected. Being Quarry means that Wishing Well, as your sister, saw more in you than any other pony you had ever met. It means that she fell in love with you, and you with her. Being Quarry means that you wanted to give her everything, surround her in your love, prove to her that her admiration for you was deserved. Being Quarry means that when you contracted for a new house, the contractors missed their completion dates. Being Quarry means that you taught yourself how to build, how to transform stone and wood into a structure using the pallets of building materials that they left on your lawn for weeks at a time. Being Quarry means that when they threatened to sue you for breach of contract, you very firmly, loudly, and pointed out that they did it first. You then shoved whatever building materials remained into places on their bodies that were not designed for such. Being Quarry means that she filled your life with love, and that she filled the house you built for her with children. Being Quarry means that whatever happened outside these walls, inside them you were allowed at all times to offer love, receive it, be a father. Being Quarry means that your anger never left you, that it was far too engraved upon you to ever be expunged. Being Quarry means knowing that your wrath accomplishes things that would otherwise be denied you. Being Quarry means that they cannot ignore you because they fear you. Being Quarry means forever being afraid. It means that at night you whisper invoke after invoke that your family may never have reason to fear you. Being Quarry means that the knowledge that they do haunts you. Being Quarry means knowing that your wrath is what sent your eldest cult off to Manhattan to run your interests there. Being Quarry means that when your second son joined the military, he did it to learn the discipline to never be like you. Being Quarry means that your third cult did not live more than a week. Being Quarry means that you held his little body to yours as the life dripped out of him. Even the lives of your children had been stolen from you. Being Quarry means that after her husband was killed in battle, your eldest daughter sat in the dark of her apartment, falling further and further into depression. It means knowing that the fear of your wrath actually kept her from returning home, bringing her children to a bright place where she can find refuge. Being Quarry means that your middle daughter does not speak with you often, only comes around to see her mother. It means she is afraid that you will judge her unicorn mare friend, maybe even chase her out of her life. Being Quarry means not knowing how to tell her that you only hope she is happy, and that this is all you want for her. Being Quarry means that you beat the well out of a cult who made your youngest daughter call out no in alarm. Being Quarry means knowing that your anger scared her, terrified her, made her flee to the home of your best friend and the smart daughter he had raised. Being Quarry means that on a cold morning you awoke to find Wissingwell having a seizure. Being Quarry means that you tried to use your strength to keep her from hurting herself. Being Quarry means that the doctor said it was genetic. Something about having traces of Pegasus genes, having the magic of Pegasi show up unusually strong against her Earth Pony magic, disrupting it. Being Quarry means finding out that this was most likely what killed your youngest son. Being Quarry means that as she gets weaker, you have to gently carry her into the bathroom. Means that you have to wash her like she was a child. Being Quarry means that you built a lift inside your house. It means that even as you get older, there's nothing you would not do for her. For them. Being Quarry means overhearing jokes in the tavern about her family, Ledger's family. You hear one pony joke that her Pegasus ancestor had kept a secret in the family, that her family tree had not branched. Being Quarry means that you beat him into something best described as paste. Being Quarry means having to beg. It means having to beg your eldest daughter to come live with you, to bring the foals to a place where they could be safe and warm. It means that you promised her not to be angry in front of them. It means blowing it entirely when you go to Ledger's mill to apologize to your youngest, your little cupcake. It means having to stand on Ledger's porch and beg her to come home as Ivory had prepared to go off to Canterlot. Being Quarry means that you both rely on your wrath, your anger, and live in fear of it. Being Quarry means that you hate and despise those who use you, use your family to get you. Being Quarry means that even though you want what is best for your family, you would not hesitate to do so. To do so would be devastating, horrible things to anyone who felt you was using them. Being Quarry means that you know all of this, and you never wanted it to be this way. Being Quarry means that you hope that there's some way out of it before you have a stroke or a heart attack. Being Quarry means not thinking it very damn likely. There are very few sounds in the world of baking that sound like snapping gingerbread. As Carrot removed the foundation, he had set it carefully upon the table, making sure that there was nothing there that would endanger it. As Cupcake had whipped up some more frosting, the two had taken great care to make sure that the house was supported adequately, that no harm could come to it. They had laid aside the foundation as they prepared to insert the gift, each making sure that the critical piece was safe against all harms. Both had taken their time in doing so. Both had done what they thought was the right thing to do. Yet as it lay there upon the table, some chance of air seemed to catch in it. Perhaps it was the further heat from the ovens, or the cold counter upon which the gingerbread house foundation had been laid. Whatever the circumstances that triggered it, what followed was simply fact. The foundation of the gingerbread, that single critical piece, snapped. There was a little groan, and then a soft wet tear across the surface appeared and became different, deeper. In the world of bacon, there is no sound like the sound of gingerbread breaking. As that sound filled the kitchen, Cupcake looked at her husband and gave a gasp. As he looked at her, past that dollop of frosting that sat upon his nose, he realized that the project was now in jeopardy, that everything they had been working toward was now possibly going to waste. The girls re-entered the room, their hose streaked with mud. The mud had found its way up to their black dresses, even as they seemed to catch it in their maids. Yet, as they came forward, it was hardly the mud that captured the attention of those gathered there. The funeral director moved to let them pass. Let Inky, Blinky, Maud, and Pinky smear the wet earth across the floor of the parlor, new enough to let the girls mourn in their own way. The flowers stood in their mouths, freshly gathered from the short lawn. There were no long stems, no fancy petals. Instead, what the girls brought with them across the purples and blacks of the rug to where their parents stood were bluebells, Johnny jump-ups, dandelions, buttercups, and white flowers or crocuses. These early flowers, the flowers of a world waking just after winter wrap-up, became their offerings. As they joined their parents, the tearful eyes of the assembly of mourners were upon the four little sisters. Clyde lifted each one of them in turn, let them lay their flowers among the still, quiet form of his mother. As they did, each girl laid a small kiss on the forehead of their granny pie. Let their eyes fall over to sweet repose one last time before he lowered them to the floor. "Goodbye, Granny Pie," Piggy said as her voice caught. She too laid her flowers, lingering over the one who had taught her how to deal with fears. Roxy took the girls outside, the funeral director bringing her moist towels as they went. Clyde watched them go, felt his brother place his hoof to his foreleg. Together the two stallions spoke an invoke over the silent form of their mother, kissed her hoof, and with a bow backed away from the casket. With a nod to the funeral director, the assembly watched the staff close the box, and with that the casket was consigned to the flames. "I love you, Mother," he said as he watched the trail of tears roll down Drexel's face, feeling them roll down his own. "Be with Father and your parents. The wires of the well keep you all." The brothers accepted the hugs of older family members, cousins, and friends. Soon the assembly began to depart, and soon it was only those who refused to leave them alone in their mourning that had remained. Clyde walked to the porch of the funeral home, There, a wet, dirty pile of towels showed where the girls had been wiped with the mud that he had gathered as he found the flowers and prepared their offerings. There was no talking, and as he passed along the porch, he saw his black-clad family sitting there. The rough breezes of the early spring tossing at them. They were so very quiet. As quiet as the house had been before Pinky had found her mark. He saw the girls leaning against their mother, with Inky in her lap. He sat down beside them, Blinky squeezing between her mother and father. Pinky hiding in his lap beneath his hooves. Maud sitting next to him. Clyde looked down over Pinky and realized that her hair was once again straight and limp, without the life he had come to see in her. It was so she were, subtly, without the very life he rejoiced in feeling flow from her. As he worried over this, he felt her lean against his hooves, and heard her voice stay small as she asked,
Daddy, is Grandpa in the Well of Souls?
"Oh yes, love," he answered. "When a body can no longer keep itself alive, the mind and spirit have to leave it." He felt her move, wipe her head against his forelegs.
So,
She asked as she looked up to him.
Grandpa is just a spirit now, and she's in the well? What's it like? What about the other parts? What about...
Clyde gave a small chuckle as he fought some new sobs. Questions, 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 questions. "Her spirit is in the waters of the well," he said as he forced his voice to rise. "'Tis as though she were swimming in love herself, and all ponies she loved who are gone are there with her." He looked down at his daughter, across the mall, saw that the girls were listening. "Her body's going back to ass." He did not continue. In fact, he thought about it. He knew that soon he would be spreading her asses in all the little places she had loved. The garden, the spot by the brook, and on the field where she had been married. At that thought, new tears began to roll down his face.
But what about...
Pinkamena,
Pinkamena?
Roxy continued as she saw her husband fading.
You know how your grandpa taught you to giggle at the things you were afraid of? How she taught you to start to sing a dance? Those things, as long as those as we share with them with. As long as you hold on to them, the part of your grandpa that shared with them with you, or intellect, that will last you your whole life. Even the lives of those you share it with. Oh, breathed the somber Pinky, she and her sisters returning to hanging their heads as they reflected at what had been said. Pinky felt wetness above her, drops across her mane, as she looked up to see her father fighting tears. Soon he had lost his flat little bow, and with a great gasp the tears rolled down his face and around her as she sat in his lap. 1,000 images rolled around Cloud's mind. Memories, thoughts, songs, the whisper of his mother's voice, these all floated around him. A recent memory hung at the forefront. It was of his mother teaching Pinky about music. A lesson that must now go incomplete. Don't cry, Daddy, Pinky said, turning up to reach to him. No, it's all right, spoke her mother, leaning closer, gathering Inky, Blinky, and Maud to their father as well. Your grandpa was a lovely mare. She earned her tears. Just no shame in crying for the ones we love, Pinky. Oh. As though she had been given permission, she too began to weep. As the family sat there, the cold and an early spring wind floated over them. As Clyde felt his daughter's tears catching at his coat, he gathered her in closer. In his mind, he begged that there should be some pony who could help her, reach into that part of her that his mother had brushed open. With that, he whispered his name, the name of his mother once more. Once more, and laid his head into that of his wife as his children sat near him. And now, mood whiplash.
I know what a damn liver's option is!
Called Quarry, striking the desk.
You don't talk to me like I'm a fool again, and we'll be done with this damn quick!
Silence reigned around the small office once more. One of the three business ponies, the thin one he immediately hated, cleared his throat.
I apologize. We weren't aware that you were...
he said as his throat constricted, and he sat under the gaze of the massive stallion.
I've been in business longer than you've been alive, Coles!
Quarry said, leaning far across the desk. As he did, another one of the business ponies, the fat one he had immediately hated, gave a small whimper. Quarry leaned back and saw that he made his point. No point in making them wet themselves. He would hate to have to clean it up.
So, what you're proposing,
Quarry said, lifting up the proboscis,
is that you'll buy my risk and loans, and cover them, but you'll not actually buy the loan.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're saying, spoke the third business pony, the angry one he had immediately hated.
That is our offer. Sounds like a fool's errand, buying up risk with no reward,
he said while looking deeper into the proposal and the proboscis. There was an obvious plan here, of course, and he waited to see which of these three cults had the guts to say it. By risk and covering it, we can build our own credit.
By doing that,
By doing that, if the loan is paid, we get credit and get paid back, added the thin one, jumping in as he saw his partner faltering. Ponyville is the last stop on Canterlot on both of the principal southern railroads, and the third one, planning this, the thin one gave a gulp as Quarry's great eyes shifted to him. This city could eventually grow into an important city. The thin one trailed off as Quarry gazed down at him, leaned forward with a measured huff.
These are good folks here at Ponyville,
he stated as matter-of-factly, a statement having little meaning apart from informing them of where his loyalty lay. He looked them all up and down once more, and turned his back to the proboscis.
So,
he said as his deep breath rifted over the small, sparse office where the three cults sat squished together in front of him.
You buy up my risk. If everything works out, you could just grow your credit line and I'll still get my due over the longer period I see. But there is in print. If the loan fails, you get the liquidated assets, and I get my due in cash instead of an empty building.
Yes, that's it entirely, said the thin one at the same time as he attempted to gain some room to move.
Don't see why you just don't ask to buy the damn loans off me. Save you more money in the end if you did,
rumbled Quarry, his voice once more judgmental. This way, it keeps out the appearance that you own the loan, the fat one said, sweat running down his face. And it's your special, by way of doing business that we think will keep our risk and keep our risk down. Quarry gave a series of satisfying laughs, deep rumbling ones that sifted around the office.
And how is it that you cults are aware of my unique reputation in the world of business?
He said, affecting the airs of disagreeing with class ponies that he so loathed. I grew up in the shadow of one of your practices. Came a voice, one that spun around the room in a low hiss. Quarry shifted his eyes to the angry cult. the one who'd been keeping his eyes up the hardest, trying to seem unafraid of him. He was failing at it. Quarry could literally feel him shaking beneath the table. Quarry gave a low laugh and looked at the angry colt for a long while.
You know me,
Spoke Quarry, his voice a low rumble.
but I don't remember being the well out of you before.
My father's penny pitcher, replied the colt, dropping the name before Quarry as though it were a challenge. Quarry looked at the colt, saw defiance there before his eyes. As he gave some more laughs, he looked back up to the colt with a snarling grin.
You're the fool, the son of a bitch, huh?
That lame and thieving
Go liquor.
he said as his wicked smile grew larger.
How's the slip?
The anger dropped out of the colt. As he withered under Quarry's stare, his antagonism was replaced by fear and shame. Quarry laughed a little more as he leaned back from his chair. It was quiet around the room as Quarry read some more. He coasted along the list of names of his loans that they wanted to buy. He had to admit, they were smart ones if they were looking to get into Ponyville's business and win credit. Quarry would have rejected the offer if it was for personal loans, college loans, but there were none. Instead, they were all real estate and business loans. These colts were hedging their bets. Worst comes to worst, and all of these loans fail, they would be left with swaths of property in one of Equestria's fastest growing cities. Clever. Very clever. He looked at the names. Near the top, he found himself tripping over one not once, but twice. He couldn't help but ponder it.
Carrot Cakes Bakery Company, LLC, Incorporated.
Now, class, if you'll join me...
Ba-da-dum!
Thank you. Being as it was such a poor name and all. Yet, as he did, he felt something pull at him.
I'm gonna give all these companies a chance to sign on you with your knots,
He said as he rocked in a chair.
We're gonna wait till the end of next month.
3 colts began talking at once, raising demands, trying to convince him other ways. As they blathered away, Quarry began to feel himself twitch, his blood pressure rising. Soon his muscles ached, and at once he stood, reared like a wild horse, and caught them all in his gaze. Though no record of what was said next exists, suffice it to say that the colts left the room looking rather white, with a promissory note in hoof. They would pay him 100 bits in advance for each loan. That had been decided as the color drained from their faces. Quarry would keep the money for each loan that subscribed to the risk abatement program. It was easy money, that he knew. Almost all of them were assured to switch to these young entrepreneurs. Young colts who might have been more forgiving if they had missed a payment. Even if that meant having to take longer to pay back their loans. Even if they still knew they owed him money. It would allow most of them to think that there was now some sort of layer of protection between he and them. That fear was always there, and he would rather have it than not, had learned that it was the only real motivator. He had hired employees just to bring him his checks every month, just so they would not have to sit under his gaze. However, if one of his customers chose to stay with him, he would owe the colts interest, the 100 bits in the payment. It would not be anywhere from as little as 300 bits to as much as 1,000. No fool would want to stick with him, though, so it was a safe bet. And even if he did get some pony full enough to turn down their offer, he would only be in trouble if the loan failed. It would sting a bit for losing those bits, though. He would let them know that. He explained all of this to Paperclip, the secretary listening in intently. She too dropped her eyes across the lists of proposed purchases. Oh, he heard her give a little sound of disappointment. Carrot Cakes Bakery Company, LLC, Inc. There goes my treats every 2 weeks.
Meh.
Answered Quarry as the name once more rattled around in his head. He's not a bad cult, Quarry,
Nah,
answered Quarry.
none of them are at first. Then they end up like those three other suckers, just waiting and scheming.
He closed the door. As he did, Paperclip raised her hoof to her mouth. In that moment, she realized she would actually miss seeing Carrot Cake come around. Would have to savor every sweet bite of that whatever treat she gave him next time he came. Most likely the last time. Quarry sat at his desk with a grunt. He massaged his hips and legs, rearing like he had done something to him.
You're getting old,
He told himself.
oh damn bastard. Carrot Cakes Bakery Company, LLC Incorporated.
The name of the bakery slashed through him once more. He couldn't figure out why. He focused on his family, used them all to drive the nonsense away. Yet even in his thoughts, he couldn't help but think about those who had used him. Those who had attempted to use Ledger's family to get to him. Had attempted to use his own children to weasel their way into his business and money. Rage grew beneath those eyes. Old families that were long on history and short on funds had taken to trying to have their sons court his daughters. No wonder his middle daughter had run off. Was living with a unicorn bear in Baltimore. Okay! Hey Kenneth! Hey Kenneth! Who thinks that his middle daughter is Bon Bon? I mean, come on! He's leaving it open. It's either Bon Bon... Considering the candy... Wait... Center candy marks... Center candy marks... I'm sensing a trend here. I'm going to say it's Bon Bon. Thank you. I'm just going to put that out there. I'm going to say it's Bon Bon for the rest of this fic. That his middle daughter is Bon Bon. Some of them had even sent marital proposals through the mail. The damn mail! Undoubtedly, he thought, they knew what he would do to them if they even mentioned the word dowry in his presence. That ancient and laughable idea that only existed in the minds of the most affluent of families. Instead, he found himself wondering what type of cult he hoped Cupcake would find. Of all unlikely ideas, the name of Carrot Cakes Bakery Company, LLC, Incorporated, once more flashed through his name. Paperclip could hear him laughing through the office door. That gangly mess, that datesy bakery cult, that under-abiding, stuttering prick, that is exactly what happened, isn't it? Quarry stopped himself. He knew that he was being unfair. It was hypothetical. Just a trick played on his mind from thinking about two unrelated things. He doubted that they had even met apart from the mill. Besides, Cake owed him money. That doesn't mix business and family. He would have some agenda. Something he would want for being with her. That crossed the line. Crossed it utterly. No stallion was going to use his family, especially not his little cupcake, to get close to him and to his money. The only way that cults with such damn notions were going to get close to his daughter was if the pieces he tore off of them landed near her. People, I fear for our friend Carrot Cake. I fear for him. I fear for us all.